Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Sportscaster and her son, where sports bridges the gap between the generations. I'm your co-host, 12-time Emmy Award-winning sportscaster Peggy Kaczynski, now with ESPN Radio in Chicago, hosting the Bears post-game shows, and also Peggy and Dion on Saturdays.
Yeah, and I'm Jason Commander, sports and news at 13 News here in Topeka, Kansas, covering all things K-State sports and news up here in Manhattan this fall and beyond, and enjoying it so far. But here with Mom right now to talk some Bears football and a very exciting thing that is happening this weekend, which is the enshrinement of two Chicago Bears legends in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Mom, what are your thoughts on both of the inductions? I know we're focusing more on one with this episode, but you did cover both players, so let's hear about it.
Well, we'll start with Devin Hester. Devin Hester was just a very special player. What he did on the football field, he changed special teams, and he forced teams to change their game plans for him. He was amazing. He has had a skill with his returns that was unlike anything I had ever seen before. And ironically, when he was drafted by the Bears and we asked him what he knew about the Bears at that time, he said, well, my dad is a big Gale Sayers fan, and so he made me watch all these Gale Sayers tapes, which was so ironic that then he went on to be the greatest returner in Bears history and now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Jason, I'll let you talk about the second Bear going in, Steve McMichael.
Steve McMichael, one of the greatest interior defensive linemen in the history of the NFL, a Texas football legend starting in the high school ranks, which everybody who knows a single thing about football in that state knows the importance of high school football in the state of Texas. So that's an important piece of context with Steve McMichael, is that first he's a high school football legend and then a college football legend at the University of Texas, and then a pro football legend with the Chicago Bears, played in however many consecutive games. The Chicago Bears franchise record, like I said, the most sacks from any interior defensive lineman who was not in the Hall of Fame. I believe actually the most sacks from any interior defensive lineman maybe in NFL history. And for a very long time, he had the most sacks out of any player who was not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So this is overdue. Everybody knows it in Chicago, in Texas. Just very exciting to see Devin Hester and Mongo especially get their moment this upcoming weekend in Canton.
So number 76, Steve McMichael, Mongo, nicknamed by his teammates after a character in Blazing Saddles, was the epitome of that 85 Bears team. He was the heart of the defense. This guy, Jason, I started covering the team in around 92 as a producer for ESPN. And 93 when I returned home to Chicago. And at this point, Steve was a Packer, and then just a guy that he was a fixture in Chicago. So you would see him out and about in the Chicago bars after his career ended. He joined us at ESPN Radio, my first time around with ESPN Radio, and we worked together on the Bears with ESPN Radio, and he was just legendary. I mean, the antics and the scare tactics that he would use, he had media members scared to death of him. But inside, he was just a sweet Texan, and it's been really, really difficult to see what has happened in the last 3 years since he was diagnosed with ALS. And but to see that he will be going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame is it's incredible. And we told you this was going to be a very special episode, and it is, because Steve is going to join us as well as his wife. Jason, it's really amazing the career that Steve Mongo McMichael had. And I'm telling you, when I look at the numbers, 95 sacks in the NFL, third most by a player that lines up on the defense on the inside at tackle, right? He freed up Richard Dent and Dan Hampton and Mike Singletary, all to have Hall of Fame careers. Played in 191 consecutive games for the Bears, more than anyone else in team history. He's in the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, the Texas Longhorn Hall, the College Football Hall of Fame, and now finally in the Pro
Chicagoland Sports
Football
Hall of Fame, Greats Hall of Fame.
Misty McMichael is joining us now because she is Steve's biggest advocate right now. Misty, you're the best for taking the time in what is just a emotional time for you. I can't thank you enough for doing this, but I guess the first question I just have to ask you is, why is this so important to Steve? He's in the battle of a lifetime with ALS, and why was the Pro Football Hall of Fame so important to him?
Well, let me give you some stats since everybody seems to like stats in the sports world. There's 200 million professional football players in the world. Only 378 in the hall. He's number 376, but there's only 182 of them alive. So it's a very special and select group, very rare to be in there, and it's the pinnacle of football. He's been in every other Hall of Fame, so he's long overdue. We've waited 26 years, Miss Peggy, for this. So, it's long overdue, but we're so happy it's happening.
I want to ask you, when he was diagnosed with ALS 3 years ago, he had been nominated for the Hall of Fame before and wasn't voted in.
He's been nominated every year since 5 years from retirement.
Yeah. So what were those conversations like with you guys before, so that you would know you could be his advocate as his disease really progressed?
Yeah, well, you know what? We had a do not resuscitate on him before this last nomination process. But when, they start out at 100 and then they narrow it down as the year goes on. And when we got down to 12, I knew he was going to get in. So that's when we ripped up the DNR and told him, hey, you're going to live, and he wants to live. And now he wants to even live past this induction. He doesn't want to die. So we're going to keep him alive as long as he's ready. And, yeah, we're just so happy it finally happened after so long. But I knew when they narrowed it down to 12, I knew we were going to be in at that point.
Such an exciting time, and this week is such an exciting week for football fans everywhere, especially for Bears fans with Steve McMichael, Devin, Hester, both in the Hall of Fame. Such an exciting weekend. Tell us what this weekend is going to look like for you.
Well, they have a whole itinerary for me, which I love. I love to stay busy. But I get in on Wednesday night. We have a roundtable meeting. Then it starts off Thursday with a ladies fashion show. There's a ladies golf tournament. They're doing a lot for the ladies now. I think that's probably got a lot to do with me. Yeah, we have the Hall of Fame football game Thursday night, which is going to be the Texans against the Bears rather than the Bengals and the Browns. So, and I heard the Bears are in early practice trying to see who's going to get to play in the game. So it's exciting for that. Then Friday we have gold jacket ceremony. We have a lot of events. I know Saturday morning is the parade. Jarrett Payton's going to fill in for me because I'll be here presenting Steve with his bust and jacket. And then on Sunday they're doing a special event for me that I'm going to get to touch his bust and place it in the hall. Yeah, on camera. So that should be super cool. And they started this year with the inductees doing their handprints. And I told them they could come out here and get Steve's because they had come out to measure for his bust and to measure for his ring and everything. But they said they wanted mine. So my handprints are going to be the first woman's handprints in the Hall of Fame.
Oh my gosh. You're okay. I may need Jason to do this interview because you've already got me crying.
That's amazing.
I have to ask you, Misty, since the ALS has progressed and Steve is confined to his hospital bed at home, his bed at home, I should say, right, and not hospital, but
it's a hospital bed. It's better than most hospital beds. Yeah.
Okay. How does he communicate with you, and how in the world has he been able to communicate with Jarrett, who is going to be doing the induction speech? Like, I find this fascinating.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned Jarrett because he was just here yesterday and he came for a visit. And I'm going to show you. Steve's all pretty now. He's got his shirt on like mine. We both have our Mongo shirts on.
Oh, hi, Steve.
Hold on, he's getting his suction jog done right now. But he's about ready to open his beautiful eyes. There he is.
There he is. Hi, Steve. It's Peggy Kaczynski. I am so happy for you, buddy. We worked together. I covered you. You scared the hell out of me half the time. We laughed together at ESPN radio in Chicago, and I'm so proud for what you are going to be doing, going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
And
Hook 'em horns.
that boy was in her belly. Remember the twins in her belly a long time ago? That was
Okay, we have to tell you something. Okay, I don't know if you could see this.
yeah.
Okay, Texas baby, Texas baby, hook 'em horn cookies, and the reason my son Jason here, my co-host, is a Longhorn.
Awesome. Yes, you know what? That's no better team for Texas
No better
football. So
team.
there you go.
I know.
That's
So,
a good choice.
Misty, you were going to tell me how Steve communicates with Jarrett for
Yeah.
the speech.
So something special that Jarrett mentioned to us yesterday when he was here. He said he's going to wear his dad Walter's gold jacket, first time ever to Steve.
Wow.
And how they communicate is he can blink once for yes and twice for no. He has a Tobii Dynavox eye gazer that he doesn't use that much, but if he wants to, I think. What did he tell you this morning, Michelle, on that machine?
Nothing. He didn't use it.
He didn't use it. Yeah, he hasn't used it in a minute, but he can raise his eyebrows at us, and like he's doing right now.
I love it. Oh, I love it.
He's always been very expressive, so don't think this is stopping him from communicating.
I know. That is something. Jason, go ahead.
Why Jarrett Payton? Why was that the pick for?
Steve changed his diapers when he was little, and Walter was the first one to go into the hall. But besides that, Jarrett always wanted to play football, and Walter, for whatever reason, was I don't know, it just didn't work out when Walter was alive. But when Steve became the head coach of the indoor slaughter football team, we hired Jarrett to be our receiver. And he made his first touchdown with us, with the slaughter team. We went undefeated and went to the championship. So it's a full circle thing. And I did Dancing with the Stars with Brittany. So we've always been close to the Payton family. And yeah, of course, Jarrett's the best choice ever. Jarrett's going to make history with being, introducing two dads into the hall.
Oh, that is really so cool. Steve is, he big personality, such a rebel. When he did the pro wrestling after his football career, it was so perfect to his personality. He is South Texas through and through. You met him, Misty, after his football career. So do you even know the Steve McMichael that we all covered?
Oh my God, I met him in '98. We've been married 23 years. I'm pretty much sure I'm the one that tamed him down. Yeah. He was a handful, but so was I. So make the perfect couple. Yeah, he was a handful, but that's okay. I can handle anything, obviously.
Were there ever any stories that you didn't believe? Or...
Oh no, I lived them. So there's no way that you could tell me something that I didn't believe. No, I lived with that man. Like I said, I met him in '98 when he was wrestling. And
what was he like?
He was crazy. He was awesome. He was amazing. Like, I remember this one story when we were on the wrestling road with the Giant. Okay, Big Baby. I called him Big Baby, but it's Paul White, the new Giant. Huge guy. Okay, he's freaking huge. And we're in a limo and we're going out in Florida because all the wrestlers live in Florida. We're going out one night and Steve, this cop comes to the window and tells us to get out of the car or whatever. And Paul, the Giant, runs into the bar, leaves us there. So I am like freaking out, right? And the cop sees Steve and he goes and he stands on a tree and Steve just circles him like a vulture. Just circled him. Just looked at him like, come on, what are you going to do? And I was like, oh my God, I had to go run and get the Giant. We got to go. Like Steve circling a policeman. Like, he's just, and then sometimes we would be out with the wrestlers and they would start trying to close the bar down and Steve would literally make them physically have to like he wasn't going anywhere. So, yeah, he's just an amazing, amazing guy. And if anybody messed with him, he would just pick them up by their neck, dangle them from the wall, let them dangle there a minute, and then set them down and buy him a beer.
Jason, what's his reputation in Texas? You covered the Longhorns the last 4 years.
Yeah,
he's in their Hall of Fame. What's his reputation like over there in Austin, Jason?
Well, he's one of the greatest players in school history, and everybody knows that. That was going to be my next question. Was kind of about some of the things that have been done to honor him over this past week, month, year since he got announced that he would be inducted into the Hall of Fame. At the University of Texas, he's an absolute legend. And that's some of the stories that have been coming out this week.
A funny story about him when he came from college to the Chicago Bears locker room. He had a pet rattlesnake, and he had it on a leash with a safety pin in his mouth. And so when people would tell him what to do, or he didn't want to listen to somebody's, turn that music down at like 2 a.m, he just let his rattlesnake in the room with him.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So my next question was going to be, what have been some of the coolest things that have been done to honor Steve over the past couple of weeks with the Hall of Fame ceremony coming up this weekend?
Yeah, the Super Bowl, when they announced him originally, the 7 inductees, and that whole show with us being on the riser, that was a first time thing. The Hall of Fame football game, them making the Bears and the Texans playing is awesome. Them, putting my handprints in there and me putting his bust in the hall and me having our private party inside the Hall of Fame is awesome because all the other inductees have theirs off-site. So they just really, and all the merchandise they've sold. He's a bestseller in the Hall of Fame museum for merch. So I don't know, they've just been really, really sweet with us, and they've done a lot of special things for us, and I really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, the number of T-shirts now that are out for Mongo is amazing.
You see them everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. Super cool. Like we have some on now from the Hall of Fame. Mongo McMichael T-shirts. Yeah, they're amazing. And I've never had so many of his jerseys. I have every color now.
Yeah. Misty, you must have a guest registry with the number of people who have come to visit Steve. Give us an idea of who's been
yeah, let me look at it.
Visiting.
Well, for Saturday's induction, it'll be the same teammates that were here when I was in Vegas. But let's see lately who we have here. Mike Dempsey, Mike Singletary, Luke Canales. Let's see who. Jim Foley. Everybody doesn't really sign this as I tell them to. Gary Finzik. Connie Payton came, Dan Hampton, Jim and Wanda Osborne, Dan Pompey, Keith Van Horn, Jim and Wanda Osborne. Yeah, all the good guys. Richard Dent.
His 85. Speaking of Richard Dent and Dan Hampton, his 85 teammates have, they're brothers. They are brothers.
It's the Bears Brotherhood, I call them, because, they grew up together. They played ball when they weren't getting paid to play it. And they just really became a family. And they love each other, I think, now more than ever because they appreciate what they went through. And it's just been a blessing. With this disease does come blessings, and that is that brotherly love that, I don't know that we would have seen them as much if Steve wasn't sick, I mean, I'm sure we would have, but they're just over here so much more now. And it's great to see them all the time. And they'll be back on Saturday morning to see him get his bust and his jacket, Gary and Bruce Herron and Jim Osborne and Tommy Thayer and Mark Hilgenberg and Jim Morrissey. They will all be here. Probably Matt Suey. The ones that won't be in Canton. I'll have all the Hall of Famers with me, but he'll have the rest of the guys waiting. I'll have Otis with me there too because Chicago 6 Band is playing Friday night at a fan party.
You know what? Speaking about Otis Wilson and the band, is it true that these guys bring their guitar and sometimes they come and they just sing?
Oh, can I tell you a funny story? Yeah, when Steve turned 50 and I was pregnant, boy, back 16, 17 years ago, we had a guitar player that I had for entertainment. And I think when Dan Hampton and when Steve showed up, they just took over that poor guy's station and just started playing guitar and singing. Yeah, they do come over here with their guitars and they sing and they play videos. And one time there was a whole band in here that it wasn't Chicago 6. It was a whole nother offshoot of 7 guys playing, and they had a cowbell. It was hilarious. It's like more cowbell.
Oh my gosh.
It was great.
That's really awesome. Well, we want to thank you for taking the time. Mongo, man, lots of love for you. Lots of love. We can't thank you enough as fans for entertaining us and for really putting your life out there like you did. it's really brought many Bears fans together, and we're all in this fight for you, and we're happy for you.
That's right, baby. So he said 2 lines that he wanted to mention on his acceptance speech. Hello, Chicago. Thank you, Chicago. Couldn't have done it without you guys.
The best. Misty, thank you. Steve, thank you so much. Love you guys.
Love you guys. See you in Canton, baby.
You got it. God bless.
Okay, bye.
Really emotional. That was emotional for me. It's emotional when people that you grow up and your memories are of such a big, strong, huge personality of a man, and to see what a disease can do to you. That's emotional. But I think I really understand why the Pro Football Hall of Fame is so important to not only his wife, Misty, who started this campaign a couple of years ago to get Steve in the hall, but to Steve himself. And people wonder, why are they hanging on? Why did they rip up the do not resuscitate? And it's just so interesting because he wants to go out his way. He doesn't want someone else to have the say. He wants to go out his way. And I'm telling you, this is like, I get it now. I get it.
Yeah, and it really does stink that this has to be the circumstances where he's inducted into the Hall of Fame, because it is overdue. I mean, it's undeniable that he's one of the greatest defensive players in the history of the Bears franchise, one of the greatest interior defensive linemen in the history of football, pro football. And the one silver lining to it is that it puts on this pedestal how horrible of a disease ALS is. And even though there have been examples in pro sports, obviously the disease is named after Lou Gehrig, and the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge was a big thing 10 years ago. Steve Gleason is still an advocate, is a former NFL player and current ALS patient. And the one silver lining is that it really does bring attention and awareness to the disease and brings more money into research. And, the circumstances are really horrible, but it is still very special that Steve McMichael finally gets his moment this weekend in Canton.
So we are not going to do any predictions, no final thoughts here. We're just very proud to have been able to honor Steve McMichael. And our thanks go to Steve and to Misty for joining us, because I just love, they have a love story that is pretty awesome. It's really pretty cool. Jason, nice job today. And you got a Texas Longhorn. This is the second time now you've had a Texas Longhorn on our show. Like,
yeah.
you and your Texas connections here.
Like, I don't know, who the third could possibly be. The Bulls aren't going to have any Longhorns anytime soon. And I don't want either of the Chicago franchises to taint any of the Texas baseball college players. So thankfully they haven't drafted any. But it's special whenever we're able to bridge the gap between Chicago sports and Texas sports. And really cool being able to say that I got to talk to one of the most legendary players in the history, players and people in the history of both Texas football and the Chicago Bears. It's just very special. And like you said, I'm proud that we were able to do this today on our show.
Thank you, Steve McMichael. Thank you, Misty McMichael. Thank you to Jack McGrath, our producer at ESPN in Chicago, where you can hear our podcasts on the ESPN Chicago app, also Apple Podcasts, and wherever you might listen. Also, the YouTube version, for those of us who are following us on YouTube, please subscribe, like, pass it on, tell your friends about it. Lots of episodes in the past and lots more to come as well.
Amen to that, Mom. If you like us, you know where to find us. Anywhere you get your audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I prefer the ESPN Chicago app and YouTube. I think those are the two best ways, but anywhere you get your audio, you can find our show. Mom, it's always a pleasure. Hope to talk to you soon.
Love you, buddy. Take care, everybody.